My name is Joe Peroni, and this is the Rise Above Project. And today I want to take a look at this video that I found to be relatively disturbing. This video is from a guy named Dr. Orion Taraban. His channel is called Psych Hacks. And right off the bat, what I notice is that he has 888,000 subscribers. And he's going to be saying some things here that are, let's just say, interesting, to be nice right now. Now, just for an example, on my channel, when I try to talk about things to help people, and I only have about less than 7,000 subscribers. And that number hasn't changed in about 2 years. So I'm not sure how the algorithms work, but it's very odd that if you look up anything that has to do with, let's say, self-improvement, you can look up like working out videos, and it'll end up in this, what they call the manosphere, and you're going to get people like Dr. Orion Taraban. I don't know why it works like this, but that's what happens. So before I actually start playing the show, what I want to do is take a look at a couple of words here, because he's playing really fast and loose with some words. And of course, the young men who are listening to this, or even middle-aged guys that are very angry and have low self-esteem, and they might just go along with this. So I want to read this. He actually wrote this out. So he's got to be somewhat proud of it, and he doesn't seem to mind that what he's saying is very questionable. So the name of the video is going to be called All Men Are Incels, The Bitter Truth. The term incel, the in means involuntary, and cel is celibate. Now, celibacy is generally considered to be a long-term commitment from not wanting to have sex. So if you go out to a bar tonight, for example, and you see someone that you're interested in, and they turn you down, that doesn't make you an involuntary celibate. It means that you got rejected once. And he's going to use that here to say that men are involuntary celibate in the very moment that they are rejected. So that doesn't make any sense right off the top. So let me read this. He says, I've never understood the use of the term incel or involuntary celibate as an insult. After all, if a man wants to have sex with a woman who doesn't, then at least in the context of this relationship, either the man is going to be involuntary celibate, again, because he just assumes that if it's a one-time rejection, that he's involuntary celibate in that moment. But that's not the actual definition of celibate. What would happen if he gets rejected is that the woman is going to be involuntarily sexual. Okay, so let's just be honest here, because I don't care how many subscribers I have, or if somehow the algorithms don't work if you use the word. But involuntarily sexual means that he's saying rape. So there's only two circumstances that can happen. If a man asks out a woman and she says no, and he becomes involuntarily celibate because he can't have sex with that woman, the only other thing that can happen is that she becomes involuntarily sexual, meaning that he's stronger than her. Well, then rape is the obvious choice. This is unbelievable. And if you look through the comments, it's a massive amount of positivity from all of these men. He continues, and while we do not need to celebrate those who obey the dicta of civil society and human dignity, I would argue that it's very stupid to denigrate those who choose to do so. The bitter truth is that since no man who has never heard no, all men are incels. The real division is between those who respect that decision and those who don't. So what he's saying here basically is that We should be celebrating men in a sense that don't rape women because that's the obvious choice to do when a man gets rejected. This guy is unbelievable. So, excuse me, let's take a look at what he's going to say here. If I can find it.
Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is PsycHacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is All Men Are Incels. Obviously a provocative title, but I do think I can make a strong argument in its defense. Let's get to it. In case you've been living under a rock, incel is short for involuntarily celibate. Basically, an incel is a man who wants to have sex, but can't seem to find a willing participant. While I don't think the term was originally derogatory, it's definitely used as a pejorative today, especially by women. In fact, it seems as though every man women disagree with these days is either an incel or a misogynist. Or both, I suppose. They might not be...
He's being disingenuous right off the top. The reason why some people use the term incel as a put down is because they're talking about people that have very, very low emotional intelligence that women do not want to connect with. And they do tend to be misogynistic, and they do tend to look at women just as objects. And so, yes, it's normal to say, okay, this person is an incel. And if you read the things that they write about women, it makes sense. I've talked to, I lost count in my therapy practice of how many women I've talked to. But the general theme is that the reason why these guys are incels, or if they would like to have sex with somebody, but they don't want to, women are not attracted to them, it's not because of their haircut or whatever it might be, or they're doing these things now where they're chewing on stuff to make their jaws better. Like, it's just insane and ridiculous. What it is a massive amount of men today have zero ambition. And it shouldn't be called the manosphere, it should be called the whinosphere. Because all they do is whine about how they're not being respected all the time, and there's not people clapping behind them saying, oh man, you go, and this type of stuff, right? The world expects you to pick yourself up and do the best job you can. When women go to college, they notice that there's no men around. So what woman who's trying to better herself in life wants to be attached to a man who's attached to a couch, smoking marijuana and playing video games and playing with themselves and having an addiction to porn? Again, porn is not really a problem, but the thing is, it can be for guys like this because they don't know how to socially connect to people, and therefore they spend more time watching women on pixels on a screen than they do of actually meeting women. And then they have this really bad attitude towards women, and then they wonder why people don't want to have a relationship with them. And of course, you have to have, at least 99% of the time, you have to have generally a relationship with somebody in order to have sex with them. You can't just walk up and be some creepy guy that has nothing going for them and walk up to a girl and ask her to have sex. Like, that's not going to happen. Let's continue.
Mutually exclusive. In any case, it's generally not meant as a compliment. Now, leaving aside the wondrous coincidence that the only men who disagree with women happen to be hateful and or unattractive, I must admit that I find the use of this...
That's a whining statement too. It's not like that. It's not that they're misogynistic and unattractive. So again, this guy is like the leader of the incels. And again, I'm looking at him here. I mean, I guess he's a doctor. That's pretty good. But if you're spending all your time getting almost 1 million subscribers on YouTube, listen, I don't have time to do that. I don't have time to do all that self-promotion. I actually have a practice. I see clients. By the time you're done doing your job with human beings, and then you're doing the notes and stuff like that, you don't have all your life to be spending online doing this.
Term, incel, absolutely baffling as an insult. And it really only takes a little bit of effort to understand why. While it's clearly the case that some men are more attractive than others, no man who has ever existed has been universally attractive to women at all times. I mean,
No man is universally attractive to all women at all times. Oh, how sad. Like, grow up. Yes, that's true. Not everybody is going to like you if you're 6 feet tall. Not everybody's going to like you if you're 5'6". Not everybody's going to like you if you have dark hair. Not everybody's going to like you if you're blonde. It doesn't matter. Like, the whining and complaining here, and the way he says it, and behind this is that he assumes that every woman can have sex whenever they want. Now, here's the thing, and he doesn't think women can make choices. Do you think that women, all women, are universally attractive to all men at all times? Because that's not true. And even if a woman does go to a place and she does want to hook up or meet somebody, she might be able to do that, but it's not just dependent upon finding someone who's willing. Like, he keeps mentioning that in this too. It's not about finding a partner who's willing. Okay, that's kind of creepy, right? You don't go to a bar or just walk around in your life going, I hope there's a woman who is willing to have sex with me. Your standards should be higher than that. And that's what makes them incels. That's what makes them creepy, right? You're not just looking for a willing partner. So when a woman goes to a bar, she might have more options than a man. That's true. But she probably has standards. And so she might not meet anybody because nobody there might live up to her standards. Maybe she wants somebody with a decent job. Maybe she wants somebody who has ambition. Maybe she wants someone who's a gentleman or a respectful person. Could be, but this guy doesn't seem to understand that, and neither do his almost 1 million subscribers and all of these comments that I'm reading in here saying about how great he is for saying this. This is going to get worse.
even Greek mythology is full of stories of gods being turned down by mortal women. And this means that every man, irrespective of how handsome or famous or powerful or charming he might be, has been frustrated in his sexual desire at some point in his life.
Yes, and not just men, all people. You could take the most top-notch woman in the world, and she could go after, let's say, for example, the most poorest guy that has no ambition with no self-esteem. Most likely, he's not going to be with that woman because he doesn't have the self-esteem to do that. And again, too, if you're a man, it's not about that you can get any woman you want, the higher up the ladder you are. Let's say you're, again, a very famous, good-looking, rich guy, and you just walk down the street and you just pick any girl off the street. Super low self-esteem, not accomplished in any way. Do you think she's going to feel comfortable in being with that guy? The chance of that is almost 0%. We accept the amount of love in our life that we think we deserve. And if people don't feel like they deserve that, then they're not going to accept that. And as I could even tell you from personal experience, right? In life in general, you don't want to aim down because you think it's easier, because it's going to be a lot worse when you get turned down at that level. And I don't just mean for dating and for people. I mean for jobs and going for different schools and things like this. Continuing.
Even the most successful Casanovas don't bat 1,000 100% of the time. In fact, if there is a single experience that binds together all men of all cultures, it is having one's sexual interest rebuffed. And in that moment, that man is an incel. He wants to have sex.
Again, not true.
But he doesn't have a willing partner. Well, Unattractive men might experience this more frequently. Even the most attractive men cannot have sex whenever they want, however they want, with whomever they want. If such a thing.
Oh, how terrible. I mean, we all need to cry tears because men can have sex whenever they want, however they want, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's insane. By the way, by that criteria, women can't either, because the type of sex that they would want is probably someone who can satisfy them, who is a decent person, who is not like this, who doesn't really like women in the first place. So again, it depends on your standards. If a man is just looking for a willing partner, that's different. He thinks that women are like that. Women are not like that for the most part. They're not looking for just a person who's willing. So yes, they have standards, and yes, they are also unsatisfied. If you look at the sex lives between men and women, women do tend to be less satisfied than men. There's a massive orgasm gap, of which men orgasm almost obviously all the time, and women do not. So again, this guy who, I mean, I guess he's a doctor in psychology, but I don't think he practices, because I don't think he actually talks to clients.
Thing is possible, it is a privilege that only beautiful women enjoy. In any case, it doesn't take a genius to understand that when a man's sexual interest is rebuffed, there are really only two possible outcomes.
Listen to this.
Either the man is going to be, at least with respect to that relationship, involuntarily celibate.
Imagine being able to build anything.
What, a commercial. I don't know how to get past this real quick. Let me.
44, a complete AI creation platform.
Or the woman is going to be, shall we say, involuntarily sexual.
Or shall we say, involuntarily sexual. So we only have two choices according to Dr. Orion Taraban. Okay, I would love to see if this guy actually has a license, because you would lose your license for saying something like this. So the two choices are: a man walks into a bar and is not looking to have a conversation or to talk or get to know somebody. He just says, let's have sex. He gets turned out. There's only one choice. One choice there. He becomes involuntary celibate in that moment, which is a lie, because that's not the definition of celibacy. But there could be only one other choice, according to Dr. Orion Taraban: involuntarily sexual. That means he's going to rape her. Okay.
Like, those are the only two options.
Really?
I think we're all going to agree that the first outcome is preferable to the second.
So the first outcome is preferable to the second. So if you're listening to this and you're a woman, he's saying, just give in. Just accept your fate, because you could get beat up and raped. So it's preferable that if a guy tries to have sex with you, just go along with it.
Given this understanding, I can't wrap my head around the impulse to denigrate those who choose to uphold the first option. Like it or
So we're going to cheer for people who decide not to rape. And we're going to say that that's the standard now. Okay, so how low have our standards have gone with men in this country, that we're going to somehow praise a man to go, you know, you got turned down, but it's not that bad. You could have raped her. So yes, I'm an incel, but I'm not a rapist.
or not, when a man is involuntarily celibate, what is he necessarily doing? Well, among other things, he is acknowledging the right of a woman to consent to sex, and he is respecting the foundations of civil society. He is choosing to frustrate his will rather than impose it on another.
Right.
And we're like collectively agreeing that that is something to be mocked and derided?
No, your opinion about this needs to be mocked. That's number one. And he is very cavalier with throwing around how men are stronger than women, and therefore they need to just go along with the men's desire to be raped. In other words, if they say no, they're going to be raped anyway. So and this can happen because men are stronger than women. Okay, let's take it a step further. So about 10% of humans are gay. Now, I'm in the bodybuilding world. I have been my whole life. Let me tell you this. When you're talking about big, strong men trying to look good and that care what they look like, that number is not 10%. In the bodybuilding world, the number is probably closer to 15 to 20% of those people are gay. And this guy, as I look at him, I don't know if he's ever lifted a weight heavier than a pen in his life. So there are a lot of gay men in bodybuilding that could destroy this guy physically. So when he talks so cavalier, like I have male genitalia, therefore I can overpower a woman, let me tell you something. There's a lot of gay men, okay, that would destroy him in a second. So do we actually believe this whole thing in terms of what if a gay man meets him at a gym and says, hey man, let's do it. And he says, no, I don't go that way. Maybe he should just say yes. Why? Because if you run into some 6 foot tall, 230 pound muscular gay guy, he's going to do whatever he wants with you. So just do what he wants. You know, it's the better of the options, right? It's better to go along with it than to say no and they get beat up and raped, right? So it's not just male to female like he's saying.
Because that is the real difference between men. The distinction does not come down to those who are rebuffed and those who aren't. As I've already said, the latter class of men don't exist. But to those who...
And again, he's on this thing about men being rebuffed, rejected. The other part of that is that women also suffer rejection. Because when a woman goes to a club and nobody hits on her or nobody talks to her, because socially women kind of wait, and it's supposed to be the men who make the first move. So if a woman is in a bar with 100 people and none of them talk to her, she is being rebuffed. She is being rejected as well. But he doesn't know how to see past his own nose. Ask a lot of women as they get older, and what they'll tell you is that no, they're not sexually interested in every guy, but it is nice to hear a compliment now and then. And as women get older, they become more and more invisible, which is another way of saying that they're being rejected by society because they're not of the right age or whatever it might be. So to say that men have this divine right to be complainers and whiners about being rejected, and that women don't know what it's like to be rejected. Women get rejected all the time by other people. They get rejected by the silence because people don't talk to them. They get rejected by society in general. This guy is complete. First of all, he's pro-rape. That alone is bad, but he's completely clueless. Let's continue.
Who are governed by law and human decency, and those who aren't. Like, if there has ever been a man who has never been an incel, it was probably Genghis Khan. And that's not because no woman ever told him no.
It's because Genghis Khan was a rapist and he's putting him up as a role model.
The reason Genghis Khan might not have been an incel was not because women found him universally attractive. It's because he didn't take no for an answer.
Because he was a rapist. And this guy is proud of this.
If you appreciate the insights on this
This is his commercial. I'm going to let it run because it's so stupid.
Get your hands on a copy of my book, The Value of Others.
This guy wrote a book called The Value of Others. and he's talking about pro-rape.
And explain the behavior of both men and women in the game of mating and dating. I also provide a lot of actionable advice on how to get and keep more of what you want in the sexual marketplace. Once you read The Value of Others...
Yeah, this guy seems like he's doing really well in the sexual marketplace.
Now available
He is so angry and hateful towards women, and he's being supported by a lot of angry men. Okay, end of commercial. Let's see what we got.
After a car accident. There's a better way to get paid a way bigger check without having to go to court.
Here we go.
It should go without saying. but disparaging those who choose not to violate others is very, very stupid. And this is a choice. This isn't a topic that's very comfortable to discuss, but it is one that we benefit from remembering from time to time. You may have heard that women are the gatekeepers of sex. I've said it myself on this channel. However, the part that isn't often said is that women are the gatekeepers of sex by convention. Women are not naturally endowed with that privilege. It is not in their nature or in their biology to unilaterally prevent sex from occurring in the event that they don't want it. If it were, then non-consensual sex literally wouldn't be possible. From a physical perspective, a woman's body, like any person's body, is, as Epictetus would say, subject to a superior force. And when it comes to physical force, the average man is more powerful than the average woman.
Okay, he's wrong in every way here. He's talking about Epictetus, which he mispronounced. But Epictetus, when he talked about something of a superior force, he didn't talk about a man being able to do whatever he wants to a woman, even if she says no. What he talked about is that nature itself is forceful, and there are things in this world that you can control. There's things in this world that you cannot control. Like you can't control, let's say, getting older, for example, you're going to age, but some of the things you are in control over is your nutrition and doing physical activity. Okay, so he's completely bastardizing what Epictetus was trying to say. Epictetus was not pro-rape. And again, he's leaving out the part where there are plenty of gay men in this world that could beat this guy up in a heartbeat and rape him if they wanted to. So I would like to hear how many times that he was propositioned and then thanked the man for not raping them. Like, thank you so much. You're such a good man for not raping me. This guy is sick.
All of this is to say that women are not the gatekeepers of sex by nature. They are the gatekeepers of sex by convention. They are the gatekeepers of sex because we've...
Again, he's saying that by convention, women are the gatekeepers of sex only because men decide not to rape them. Now, I know barely anybody listens to my shows, okay? That's just a given. But, why don't you help and send this to somebody? Because these are the type of people that fall in love with this manosphere, the Andrew Tates of the world. These are the people that help give Donald Trump his victory because the young men are just starting to switch over because they listen to this garbage. And there's other studies, and I could show you some of the other studies, not on this show right now, about how men don't even think, or young men don't think that women should be paid equally. They don't think that they're equal human beings. And this is the kind of garbage that young, impressionable men are listening to that is really, it's amazing that I don't believe in censorship. I do not. But it's kind of crazy when this guy could be railing for like 12 minutes about pro-rape point of view, and he's massively popular because the algorithms send it out. And somebody like me, it's like they don't send any of my stuff out. And the reason why I know this is because you could see some of my shows have like 30 views on it, and then I have another show that has 100,000 views. It's not that one show is so much better than another, it's just that the algorithms hit at a certain point.
We've gotten together as a society by creating a structure of order and establishing a system of laws. And the basis of this social contract is fundamentally the voluntary surrender of certain natural rights in return for protection against those same rights being enacted against us. This is Hobbes's Leviathan, and it is the only legitimate basis of civil society. And we've agreed that no woman should be made to have sex against her will because, I suppose, among other things, we wouldn't enjoy the same experience being foisted upon us. So, when someone in possession of superior natural force is frustrated in his desire and chooses to abide in the frustration of his will instead of forcing his will on another, then congratulations, we have civilization, okay? He may not like it in the moment, but he is choosing to respect the law and the woman's right to choose, which is what...
So once again, we're going to have to go over this thing about, oh yeah, he's respecting her right because it's natural for a man just to turn into a rapist when he gets rejected. So this is getting redundant here, but I wonder if he feels the same way about if a person goes into a store and they're carrying a gun, right? Like, should we celebrate people who don't murder people every day too? Like, this is not the thing. Like, that's such a low expectation. You're not supposed to murder people. You're not supposed to rape people. You're not supposed to steal from people. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And it doesn't mean that you should be celebrated for that. That's insane. That bar is so low that he's setting here. Let me see if he says anything different here. I don't think he is, but let's try.
What we want him to do. But rather than praise his restraint, or sympathize with his frustration, or, I don't know, simply pass over the situation without comment.
Sympathize with his frustration. Yes, it's hard to be rejected. We've all been rejected. That's not a man thing. That's a human thing. The other thing is, a lot of these manosphere people, they don't want somebody to empathize or sympathize with them. Because the truth is that they need to get better in certain ways. You are not going to attract more women by having no money, by living in your parents' house until you're 30 years old. You can attract people for sure, but you're not going to attract the ones that are top-notch people, because no woman is going to want to take care of a boy. She doesn't want a dependent, at least not the one she's going to be in a relationship with. Eventually, she may want to have a child, and that will be a dependent, but she doesn't want to take on a man that's, again, has no ambition, no skills, and is not trying to do better in their life when women are tending to do better than men now. And he says this thing about this contract between men and men are protecting the women. Yeah, back in caveman days, right? But I graduated high school in 1983, and women were already better in school back then, and that was what, 40 years ago? So I don't know where this guy's coming from, but let's praise this guy a little bit for having almost 1 million subscribers and probably making a ton of money off of these boys, these men that are very wayward. They don't know where they're going, but they're following this Pied Piper of ugliness. And heck, if I could gain some traction in this area, because every time I talk about men and tell them that they should do better, I lose more subscribers. So let's see how many more subscribers I can lose today. Anyway, I'm going to end it there because I'm tired of that guy. My name is Joe Peroni. This is the Rise Above Project. Please subscribe and tell a friend. Thank you.